What's up, you guys? Godzilla fan freaks coming at you today with a review, and I am going to be reviewing Godzilla King of the Monsters, the new film that just came out this past week, and gonna pretty much give you everything from my thoughts, my likes, dislikes, the whole shebang. And for the first time, I've written a script because so much that I'd like to cover, and I didn't necessarily want to leave anything out. So I actually have a script this time to reference and go off of. So this should be fun, and I'm pretty much just gonna go bit by bit. And another reason I have a script is because sometimes I like to ramble a little bit too much on one certain thing. So this is just so I stick to it and I go section after section after section. So I've seen it 4 times now. So now I can give you guys a full in-depth of everything. So the first thing, just getting into it, and for what I have out here right now to represent the film, I have the new NECA Mothra that just dropped not too long ago. And of course this is the 2014 Godzilla, like, little Bandai thing. So that's the closest thing I have to represent the movie, just so there's something here instead of just me and some papers. So anyway, I'd like to start off with publicity for this film. I believe the publicity was very poor, other than, you know, YouTube and the internet and everything like that. TV spots and everything for the trailer were few and far in between. My grandma, who I saw the movie with last time I saw it, she never saw any trailer on TV or anything like that. She never saw any TV spots or anything like that. Even before movies like Endgame, Avengers Endgame, it was mixed. Some people saw a Godzilla trailer. I personally saw a Godzilla trailer before Endgame, but then you get online and everything like that, other people were asking, hey, did anyone else see a Godzilla trailer before they saw Endgame? It was mixed. Some did, some didn't. But when we were seeing Godzilla, a lot of trailers were repeated, if not exactly the same, every time I saw it. I saw trailers for It Chapter 2, trailers for that movie with The Rock and Jason Statham that's coming out. I forgot the name of it. It's Fast and the Furious presents something and Hobbs, and has Idris Elba in it and everything. The movie Shaft with Samuel L. Jackson, the Terminator trailer. Every time I saw Godzilla, these trailers were playing, but it seemed like Godzilla was very spread thin with TV spots and even trailers in the theater. As far as advertisement outside goes, in the theater and in other theaters too, because people were always asking, but there were literally no cups or collectible popcorn buckets. You know, I like to collect, you know, sometimes the cups and the popcorn buckets for certain films. But there was none of that for Godzilla. So no cups, no popcorn buckets. The closest thing that there was to cups was in Mexico at Carl's Jr.'s. Carl's Jr.'s in Mexico had cups advertising the film. And then you get into stuff like action figures. Which, you know, with all this advertising and everything like that so many other things do, so many people were asking, and even I shared a couple things and asked, you know, where's all this advertisement in some of the groups? And then of course I got some smart ass replies saying, oh, we're getting the movie, or this or that, and it's like, you know what I mean, you know, I hate stupid people like that. But you take other movies like Star Wars, even Marvel films, everything like that. They have figures ready for when the movie drops. You know what I mean? Like, there's figures out of all the different characters, different lines, you know, different price points for everybody. I mean, there's everything. So, I mean, Star Wars, Marvel, a lot of other movies like that always have figure lines of all different companies, all different types, sizes, whatnot, ready to go for when the movie drops. Godzilla, we had the Bandai figures from Bandai Japan You know, and even those are kind of mixed on some people. The Godzilla's cool, the Rodan's cool. I'd like to get my hands on a Ghidorah, even though the Ghidorah isn't accurate to the film. And the only thing that's not accurate really is just the spikes on the back of the necks. It's not there on the Bandai. And then, of course, a lot of people were disappointed in the Bandai Mothra. Was really lacking detail and all that stuff. But other than Bandai, there was hardly any figure promotions out for the Godzilla lines except for Jakks Pacific, the Jakks Pacific lines. And in my opinion, yeah, the Jakks Pacific figures that are sold at Walmart, it's nice, it's cool to see Godzilla figures on a shelf, but I'm not one of those collectors just to go out and get one. They're very cheap. You know, they're not that crazy detailed. And they are literally kids' toys, not really necessarily a collector's item. Now, I do know other Godzilla fans and collectors that went out and got some of the stuff when they dropped at Walmart. But preferably for me, the Jakks Pacific stuff, not a fan of, you know, but that was literally it for figures. Stuff like NECA, the NECA Godzilla released last month, just barely, I think, before the film dropped. NECA Mothra here just came out within the last, like the last week, just barely. The SH Monster Arts Godzilla is just now getting into, the 2019 SH Monster Arts Godzilla is just now getting into hands of people that ordered it and placed an order. The NECA Rodan and the NECA Bluefin Atomic Godzilla, which I'm looking forward to getting. I don't care about the first version. I didn't pick it up. I want the blue Atomic version 2 Godzilla 2019. That's what I'm looking forward to. That and Rodan. You look at different outlets all over the place. The release dates are scattered. You got release dates saying this month or next month in July. You got release dates saying September or October, and it's just very confusing and annoying. So you got all that different stuff. So it's very sporadic, and again, it's confusing and annoying. I mean, so it's like publicity for this movie is very lacking. Every time I went to go see Godzilla, the attendance was very low. I mean, we're talking 10 to maybe 15 people max each time I went to go see it, and at different theaters. I'm sure other theaters in different states and cities, the story is different. I remember hearing in some on the Godzilla groups on Facebook that their theater was packed, a lot of people, which is good. But I also heard a lot of people who were in my situation. There wasn't a lot of people. Now, whether that's due to the poor publicity, who knows? But me personally, and this coming from a hardcore, longtime Godzilla fan, it hurts to say this, but Godzilla is just not mainstream enough. He's not going to be mainstream enough to beat Endgame. You know what I mean? There's a lot of fans out there on their high horse, delusional, I want to say, that think Godzilla is just going to overtake this and defeat Endgame, and it's not going to happen. Because you have one Godzilla event in the entire world, and that's G-Fest, held once a year in Chicago, versus all the different cities that have their own Comic-Cons, plus big main Comic-Con in San Diego that represents, you know, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, etc. You know, all these other big names. Godzilla's just not mainstream enough to be big in this time, in this generation, and even sometimes past generations. Everything else is just too big, and that pains me to say, but it's the truth. And so that's all I have to say to start off. Publicity for the movie was poor. Whether that hurt attendance or not, I don't know, but it was very poor. Now on to the film, and I'm going to start off with things I like. And I like this film. It was very good. Tons of throwbacks, Easter eggs to the original films. You know, there's Easter eggs everywhere. It's crazy. You got so much candy to satisfy us longtime, fans of the series. Just to start off with the music score, it's incredible. From original music to revamped classic music from the older films. It's just really, really good and really great. Music score, 2 thumbs up. I mean, hearing the classic themes and everything like that, even though they have their own twists on them and everything, was fantastic. Godzilla, Mothra themes are all there. It's great. Godzilla and Mothra sounds. Godzilla had more of his kind of original roars here and there in some scenes. Mothra had a lot of her original sounds, as well as, new and original sounds for this era. I liked a lot of the code names, especially when they kept referencing Ghidorah as Monster Zero. That was a nice throwback to Invasion of the Astro Monster, where Ghidorah was known as Monster Zero. Best human characters in this film were, in my opinion, Ken Watanabe, who played Dr. Serizawa, and even though he didn't have a lot of screen time, just because he is a great actor in my opinion, I've seen him in a lot of other movies, was Charles Dance, and I can't put my finger on his name that he played in the movie, but he played the eco-terrorist guy. And they're both the most entertaining that is on screen, in my opinion. When I get to dislikes, I'll talk about everybody else and everyone else, and I'll go kind of in deeper. But Ken Watanabe as Dr. Serizawa and Charles Dance as the eco-terrorist was definitely top-notch acting, all good every time they were on screen. The Oxygen Destroyer reference, I'm 50-50 on this. I liked it. It was a nice throwback to the 1954 original Godzilla film, but it was so short-lived, and there was no build-up to it. It was nice to have the Oxygen Destroyer like original look and design in the warhead of the missile, but it was like, we developed this new weapon. It's on its way. It's going to kill them both. And it lands, you have this really nice explosion that is worthy of an Oxygen Destroyer. It's very eerie. The green blast and everything like that, it's really eerie. And it's good, but it was just so shortly lived, no build up to it. It was just like thrown in there just so they could put the Oxygen Destroyer in there to reference the old film, and then boom, done, it's gone. So I'm 50-50. I like it, and it was annoyed that it was very shortly lived. References to the original film. In this film, Ken Watanabe's character, Dr. Serizawa, he passes his notes on, and he sacrifices himself to revive Godzilla. In the original Godzilla from 1954, Serizawa destroys his notes so that his weapon can never be used again, and then he also sacrifices himself to kill Godzilla. So that scene was really good, really emotional, very well put together. It was a nice, total opposite effect from the original. Was very, very good. Let's see. Other little references that a lot of other people have mentioned, but I'll mention them anyway. Rodan's Outpost, Monarch Outpost 56, is referencing Rodan's original movie and release when it came out in 1956. Mothra, Monarch Outpost 61, references to Mothra's original appearance in her own movie from 1961. Ghidra's Outpost, even though this one's kind of far-fetched, Monarch Outpost 32, a lot of people, say 32 and 32 adds up to 64, which it does, which Ghidra's original release was in 1964. So just little things like that, that a lot of people can put together are nice little references. Rodan probably had the best scene in the whole film, in my opinion. When he flies off the volcano and is going after the Argo and all the other flight craft and everything like that. That's like classic Rodan scene with the air jets and everything like that in the sky. That was that was the best scene in the whole movie, in my opinion. That was great. That was classic Rodan. That was awesome. This is the first movie where Rodan and Mothra first ever fight each other. Mothra and Rodan have never fought each other before. So this was something totally, you know, new and original. Mothra and Rodan go head to head. We've never seen that before until now. When Mothra dies, she has that classic scene where in past movies, it did reference a couple different times. It referenced when Rodan died in 1993's Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, and Rodan is the one that died and dispersed his energy and power into Godzilla to power him up. And it was also kind of an opposite effect in 2002. Yeah, 2002 GMK, Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. When Mothra died in that film, instead to power up Godzilla, her energy and everything went to Ghidorah. So, like, that was a really cool reference that when Mothra died in this film, she was used to help revive and give Godzilla that extra oomph he needed. The Burning Godzilla reference was cool, you know, to 1995's Godzilla vs. Destroyer. So the Burning Godzilla reference was cool. A lot of Godzilla versus King Ghidorah references. I'll just pick on a few, though. There are probably a little bit more. But when Ghidorah, in the final ending scene, when he's taking Godzilla up into like the atmosphere above the clouds, when he has his neck wrapped around Godzilla and Godzilla's kind of foaming at the mouth, that is kind of a reference to their fight in 1991's Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. When King Ghidorah dropped Godzilla, I believe that is kind of a reference of when Anguirus bit onto Ghidorah's neck back in 1968's Destroy All Monsters, and then Ghidorah ended up flying up, and then Anguirus fell from the sky to the ground. And then a last bit, I did like the Argo Flying Command Center for Monarch. It reminded me of you know, SHIELD headquarters and everything like that. It's pretty cool. Really did like that a lot. Now though, on to dislikes. A film cannot be all pros and likes. As much as I did enjoy this film, I do have some dislikes about it. And that's what we're going to get into right now. All the other human characters, even though it was a step up from Godzilla 2014 with lines like "Daddy's home, cake every night," and terrible dialogue, all the other human characters in this film just didn't hit the spot like Ken Watanabe did in a lot of scenes. It just felt really, really meaningless and just meaningless crap. And I've never seen an episode of Stranger Things, so I had no connection. I know the girl, forget what her name is, but I know that she is in Stranger Things, but I've never seen an episode of Stranger Things, so I didn't have that connection to her, and to me, she really didn't add that much more to the film. So, again, boring human characters, and again, that adds up to, you know, it was significantly better than 2014, but they still cut away from the monster fights with these boring human characters that really none of us had any connection with or cared about. And it's significantly better than the previous film. But we're Godzilla fans, not necessarily for the human drama. Yes, human plot and storyline that way is important. But we are Godzilla fans for the monsters. You know, I'm sorry for how childish and how little that sounds. But you go to a Godzilla movie to see these guys fight. Not 5 seconds of fight and then they're in the background while these humans are, the camera's more focused on them and everything that they're doing. So if you do anything in Godzilla vs. Kong for the next film, you need to focus more on what's going on. Don't cut back and forth, because then that ruins so much still. Even though it was better than 2014, it still kind of ruins the aspect that way. And the fights, the monster fights again, just like in 2014, they're shadowed by darkness, snowstorms, rain, flashing lights. There's too much going on when you have a movie like Kong Skull Island that had amazing daytime shots of the monsters. Fights in the daytime, plenty of light, plenty of focus to where you can see what's going on. Just really gotta twist that for Godzilla vs. Kong so we can finally get some nice daytime fights, plenty of light, nothing obstructed by storms, darkness, flashes of light, whatever. Because all that stuff, again, on top of cutting away from the fight to the humans, gets really irritating. No more less light and obstructions. More focus on the monster fights. Plenty of visual eye candy. More of it, I want to say. You did good in this movie, but we need more of it. And again, not as dark. No more obstructions. Humor in this film was there, but it was dry. Like, I laughed at a few things, but it was dry and just really kind of felt misplaced. And scenes where you were kind of supposed to laugh at something, it never really just fell through. You know what I mean? The most funniest thing in the movie, again, came from one of the best human characters in the film, Ken Watanabe's Dr. Serizawa, when he's giving that speech, and then he says that he got it from a fortune cookie, a really long fortune cookie. That was good. That was funny. Probably the thing that made me laugh the most, even though it was meant to be serious. But other than that, humor, very, very dry. Now it just didn't hit. But that's pretty much everything I disliked about the film. Now on to the credits. Lots of stuff to cover. A lot of us are probably going to have to wait for home video so we can like pause and actually read a lot of the articles that were whizzing by there, just so we kind of do understand and get everything. But from what we get we do know that the Return of the Titans is kind of thriving the earth. It talked about endangered animals are thriving back to life and not being endangered. Superfoods are blooming and being discovered. Godzilla is keeping all the other Titans in check, meaning, he is mainly in control. A giant egg was found by Monarch, which definitely means the return of Mothra. She's definitely going to come back because that's always been a thing, unless it's a Godzilla egg, but I really think it's a reference to Mothra. And then it kind of talked about the Titans being drawn to Skull Island. So it's like in the next movie, I think we're definitely going to get Godzilla and Kong fighting on Skull Island. But those are just a little tiny things. Again, probably have to wait till the Blu-ray comes out so we can actually pause and read a lot of different stuff. I'm sure there's a lot more stuff that's hidden there in those articles that were on the screen for just mere seconds. And now the ending credit scene. Ghidorah's head, it's interesting, but it's also confusing. Some people say Legendary has rights to more Toho monsters, and others say that they don't. So it's hard to say what's true, because it just ends up starting arguments between people. Whether they have rights to do so many more monsters or they don't. And that's what just ruins the fandom, is when you just can't agree on something and just start arguing and just having pissing contests. But I will say, if they do have more rights, it is possible we may see Mecha King Ghidorah. We may see Destroya because of the Oxygen Destroyer, but just because it was so shortly lived, maybe not. The Charles Dance's character was big into the kaiju DNA. That's mainly what he was kind of after, was kaiju DNA. So another contestant is possible. We may see Biollante, because Biollante was with Godzilla's DNA and other DNA from plants and everything like that. So that's a possibility, but that's only if they have rights to all these other monsters. Again, it's mixed, so it's hard to say what's true. But if they don't have any more rights, it's either going to be Ghidorah's just going to come back, maybe looks a little different, maybe has some different powers, or it's going to be something totally original like a lot of the other Titans were, like that mammoth razorback looking thing, that spiderish crab thing, which I think might have been kind of a little reference to Kumonga, but maybe not, just because it had 6 legs, not 8 like a normal spider. But yeah, if anything, it might be something totally original in the next movie that Godzilla and Kong are maybe fighting, but then maybe have to work together to try to stop. Who knows how the next movie's going to go. So anyway, that's my review on Godzilla King of the Monsters for 2019. Just to sum it up, again, I liked it. There were things I disliked about it, but I enjoyed this film. I saw it 4 times. Granted, I saw Godzilla 2014 3 or 4 times as well, but this movie is significantly better than 2014. Still has a little stuff that needs to be worked out, like I said, but as far as an American-made Godzilla film goes, it's the best one that has been made by America. So 2 thumbs up there. Definitely look forward to NECA Mothra being reviewed here in the near future. And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review on Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019. We are Godzilla Fan Freaks. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next review. Thank you for watching.